Shelley Fishel of Tomorrow's VA here. Today I want to talk about 7 myths around online classes. So let's jump right in. Myth number 1 is that online classes are not as effective as face-to-face ones. Now, I love face-to-face training. It's how I got into training, and I was a face-to-face trainer for close to 20 years before moving my training online. And I can tell you that I've found that my online classes are just as effective for transference of learning as the face-to-face ones. So that's myth number 1, and I know that because my students tell me. Myth number 2 is that online classes are easier than in-person training. So for an in-person class, you've got to turn up to the venue, you've got to get there, you've got to participate, and you might be called on to do stuff. Well, with an online class, you don't have the travel, but you still have to turn up. And although that may not be physically in a location other than your own office or your own home, you still have to put the effort in. So it's not easier than face-to-face training because you have to have the discipline to actually do the work that you're asked to do. Myth number 3 is that online classes are not as respected by employers. And this myth is being busted to smithereens all over the show right now. I'm recording this today in June, the end of June 2020, where we are just starting to emerge from a lockdown culture in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And most training has moved online because face-to-face simply cannot take place. And employers are booking this online training for their staff who are all working remotely, and the training is remote too. So employers are definitely respecting online training just as much as face-to-face. Myth number 4 is that online students don't get to interact with their instructor. Now that is going to very much depend on the platform. In my courses, for example, I'm on screen. I have a Facebook group where my students can come together and chat with each other and support each other. My learning management system has a built-in community feature where they can post their questions and I can answer them. So there is a way to interact with your instructor. My students can email me and I'll respond. They can even email me, and sometimes I'll even book a 10-minute, 15-minute one-to-one session with them to help them with whatever it is they are struggling with, so long as it's something that was covered in the course. Myth number 5 is that online students don't get to interact with fellow students. And just like in myth number 4 that we just discussed, you'll see that when you have a community built into your online learning, then students can interact with each other. And that social interaction is very important to help embed learning, because something that Joe asks will help Jill answer a question that she has. And so that is really important. And all my courses have a community built in. Myth number 6 is that you have to teach yourself the material. Now, we move our courses online, and if they are anything worth their weight or worth their salt, then they won't be just a series of slides expecting you to read through the slides and absorb that material, because you'll be falling asleep. So we're not expecting you, and you aren't expected to teach yourself. There will be interactive sessions. Now, that might not be interactive engaging one-to-one with the tutor, but it might be that you're asked to complete an assignment, go away and do a task, read a book and comment. There will be things to do. So you won't just be teaching yourself, you will be led along the way and helped to be taught the topics. And in my case, I actually show you in my video training what's going on. So you'll see how to do something in one of the Office packages. And finally, myth number 7 is that online learning is all lecture, and that's definitely not true. When you go to university and you attend lectures, well, yeah, that's a lecture. And some of the courses, especially if they're university ones, may well be done that way, and that's how it is. But any decent course, and that's the sort of courses that I and my colleagues run, will have a lot of interactivity built in. If it's a live online course and delivered via Zoom or Teams, for example, then there will be interactivity. You can have breakout rooms, you can have private chats, you can have chats with the instructor. You can set people tasks to do and time them while they go off and do it and then come back to your lecture. You could set up your training with an hour of delivery and then half an hour for them to go and do an assignment and come back and report on it. And feedback from these kind of sessions is off the scale and wonderful. So that's it for today. 7 myths about online training. Catch me tomorrow where I'll be talking about some misconceptions around online training. Shelley Fishel from Tomorrow's VA.